Hey everyone, it's Q&A Tuesday. Well guys, let's dive right into it, and the first question comes from a gentleman by Richard Banana, whose questions I've answered before. Great video and informative content. Thank you, Richard. Questions: have you ever been burned out from this hobby? What about some of your clients? Our watch is a dying breed. Most of the new generations today either use their cell phone or wear an Apple Watch. This is actually a very tough question for me because as I read this, and guys, I don't prepare for this. I literally read the questions off and I answer them right off the top of my head. I feel like that way my content comes out best. But when I read the question, have you ever been burned out from this hobby? I literally right away kind of puzzled me because is this my hobby or is this just a business for me? And probably I would have to say that it's no longer a hobby for me, because a hobbyist is somebody that collects something, that constructs something that he does over a period of time, not somebody that makes a living off of it. Of course, it's a great combination to do something that you love, because every day that you are at work and you're doing something you love, that's not really considered to be work, and this is the case for me. But I can't say that this is really a big hobby for me. It was somewhat of a hobby when I first started this. I was into watches, but at the time I could only afford a couple of relatively inexpensive watches. So for me, it wasn't really like a hobby. It was more of a, a show-off thing. I bought my first Rolex Datejust for $1,000, and that was it. I had a Rolex. To answer your questions, I'm not burned out, but this is also not a hobby. This is a business, and it's a hell of a business. I mean, I've been around for 15 years, and this year we're going to record close to $120 million in sales. So it's not a small business either, or a small hobbyist, if you want to call it at that. So no, I'm not burned out from my business. I do have an exit strategy for my business. I do have a plan of where I want this business to go over the next 5 to 10 years. I do have stressful days at work where I want to say F it and just get out of here and just clear my head somewhat, because every business has its challenges. But nevertheless, no, I'm not burned out. I'm going to continue at this for as long as I can, or until my exit strategy for my business proves to be successful. What about some of your clients? I've seen clients burned out from watches. I've seen clients spend a tremendous amount of money in certain things, and then when they go and try to sell things, they would lose money, because 9 out of 10 times when you buy something, you're going to resell it, you're going to lose money. And I've seen them get burned out because of that. Or I've seen them just get tired of the same thing over and over from a particular brand, because a lot of clients tend to favor a brand rather than having a slew of different brands in their collections. So yes, I have seen clients get burned out and one day just pick up, throw their hands up, say, you know what, I want to sell everything. But you know what I also see? I also see those same clients coming back and saying, crap, why did I sell all those watches? Let me start buying again. I've never seen anybody in my career, sell off their collections or sell off the few pieces that they have and then never come back to it. Watches are like a drug. Once you get hooked, you pretty much stay on. It never ever fails. You may stop for a minute, but then you're going to be out there earning for another timepiece, because something new comes out every single day. It's in your face, and now especially with social media, you see things every day making you earn for more newer stuff and fresher stuff. A watch is a dying breed. Most of the new generations today either use their cell phone or wear an Apple Watch. I went that route. I bought it. I had it on my wrist a total of 3 days, not replacing a watch, but yet on the opposite wrist. Then I put it in my drawer, and now my daughter took it, and even she used it for a couple of weeks, and now I think it's sitting on her desk. May not be the case with other people. Some people wear their Apple Watch religiously, especially those into an active lifestyle. I live an active lifestyle, and I don't feel the need to know what my heart rate at any given time. And people use their cell phone to tell time. 9 out of 10 times I reach for my cell phone to look at the time. I don't look at my watch. That's just the reality of the world that we live in. These watches nowadays are not just there for you to look at the time. They're status symbols. They're quote unquote a hobby, as you said. They're collectible, quote unquote, although I don't consider them collectibles. They're expensive toys, so people buy them for that. Doesn't mean that this thing is ever going to compete with this. It's like saying that a motor scooter is going to compete with a car. A motor scooter is always going to get you from point A to point B, but it's a heck of a lot more comfortable procedures to get from point A to point B in a fancy car than that of a motor scooter. Hope that makes sense. Here's a question which most people would probably consider to be a dumb question, but nevertheless it opens up discussion for topic, and it comes from a gentleman by the name of Carter Hicks. Why do people buy dumb watches in the 21st century? It's like buying model steam trains or something. Remember, these timepieces, is something that has a long-standing history going back hundreds of years depending on the brand that you're dealing with. These watches are completely handmade by a master watchmaker, sometimes first, second, third, maybe even fifth generation watchmaker, who painstakingly sits behind a bench with a loupe on his face, a microscope, and by hand makes every single part, puts it all together, and makes a mechanical wonder. Because even a daytime watch in itself is a mechanical wonder. Think about it. It's a huge innovation. It's something that doesn't have a computer or battery inside that does a task that an iPhone does in a half a millisecond with the computer chip that it has inside. Think of watches that are perpetual calendars. Think of watches that are even more complex than that. Think of minute repeaters watches that can chime out the time on demand for you. These are pure mechanical pieces of art, as well as all the other things that come along with it. Prestige, the fact that it's expensive, the fact that it shows off a certain status, and so on and so forth. Why do people still get a gold Rolex as a retirement gift? Because it's a status symbol, not because they can now tell time on a gold Rolex versus their smartphone. I like the analogy that you made. It's like, buying a regular watch, a mechanical watch today, is like riding a steam train. But while this is not a dying technology, as they say, time is forever, and the mechanical timepieces of these artworks that these companies create are also forever. 100, 200, 500 years from now, I guarantee you, and again, I say I don't look into the future, but I guarantee you that 500 years from now, there will still be a mechanical wonder, which is a wrist watch. People will still be buying it, and people will still be loving them, and they will still be amazed with them. Maybe not the steam train, but definitely a wristwatch. Here's a good question from DGB. Okay, Mr. DGB. Is that like KGB? No. Hi, Roman. A bit short this video. Maybe you did not have many questions this time, and I'll address that. I'm still trying to find that perfect length for these videos because, my YouTube quote-unquote consultants, my marketing people are telling me that you want to try to keep these videos within 10 minutes, and then some of the viewers are saying the videos are too short. I would like to hear more. If you guys feel otherwise, tell me. I'll make these videos longer. But anyway, on to your questions. I will ask you one, hope we'll put it in the next show. What is your view on the AP 15202? Some say it has a delicate movement because it's very thin. What is your experience with this watch? Can it be a daily watch, or is it better to wear it on special occasions? I find it one of the nicest APs, but I have been advised to get the 15300. It's cheaper and more robust. Please let me know your expert view on the 15202. Many thanks. I've sold a fair share of 15202s. In fact, last week I think we sold a 15202 in rose gold. I don't know which one you're asking me about. I'm assuming maybe you're asking me about the stainless steel version, but regardless, it doesn't really matter. Is the movement more delicate if it's a thinner movement? It's yes and no. Yes, the movement is a lot more delicate if it's a lot thinner. But at the same token, those companies that make that ultra thin movements, they take the necessary precautions in the design of the case, how the movement sits, and so on and so forth, to sort of compensate for the fact that the movement may be a bit more delicate if it's a lot thinner. Can it be your daily wear? Absolutely. I've had a fair share of 15300s, 15400s, the chronographs, as well as the 15202s come back for service after a few years, or even come back broken before they're due for service. But the 15202 is not going to break any more on you than the 15300. Remember, these things are mechanical pieces, and there's so many outside factors that come into play when it comes to these watches staying working, staying on time, and so on and so forth, such as how you wear your watches, how active you are. If you're an adrenaline junkie and you're skiing, snowboarding, and skateboarding with your watch on, odds are you have better chances of that watch breaking on you, whether it's a 15202 or a 15300. So to answer your questions, the 15202 can be the daily wearer. I will agree on one thing, whoever advised you on the 15300, if you put the two watches side by side, odds are you won't be able to tell which one is which. So if you're not going after that coveted quote-unquote collectible 15202 because it's been deemed collectible because of the shortage of them on the market where it's really not, then go for the 15300. You'll get the same overall look and feel and save yourself a bunch of money, as I said. If what you want is that coveted 15202, again, as I mentioned, was deemed a collectible, you're going to overpay another 30 to 40% and tell everybody, and tell yourself, hey, I have the 15202. It's the slimmer movement. As far as I'm concerned, 15300 is the definite winner between the two, and not because the 15202 is more fragile, but because it's just a better buy in terms of money. I'm going to take one more and wrap it up for the day. This one comes from Erickson Henrik. Hi, Roman. Love the show and the work as always. Thank you. When the big guns are leaving Basel, what's coming in the future, in your opinion, for the big reveals? Should there be a fair where regular Joes are allowed to visit in a better manner than on Basel, for instance, where only ADs have a real chance to see anything. Another future questions, which brands do you think have the best chance of being stronger in 5 years, for example? And closing on the Trinity brands. Love from Sweden, Henrik. Well, I haven't really had a chance to do a whole lot of reading and formulate an opinion as why some of the guys are leaving Basel. And there's probably a reason for that, because whenever I get out and I start reading these articles, you tend to get a biased opinion. So I tend to formulate my own opinion, and without having read any single article as to why some of these companies are leaving Basel, or what the reasoning for them was, or what they made officially made as a statement, I can tell you this: trade shows are expensive. I do know some guys that display in Basel, specifically in Hall 4, not the main hall, and they display jewelry, vintage jewelry, collectible jewelry, high-end jewelry pieces. And I know it costs those guys just to land in Switzerland upwards of $400,000. Then again, they're selling expensive goods, mostly to private clients, some dealers, and they're making a hell of a profit to justify that kind of expenditure. For us, the most expensive show probably out there to do is the Hong Kong shows that you guys have seen videos of. I'll put an info icon up here somewhere. It costs us about $100,000 just to land in Hong Kong before we do a single dollar in business. Some of the bigger guys in the big halls and so on and so forth, it costs them millions to display, and not necessarily the space itself, although the rental in the main halls is super expensive, especially for some of the bigger spots like Rolex takes up or Patek takes up and so on and so forth. But the displays themselves, I mean, if any of you guys have been to Basel, and I'll pop some pictures on the screen of some of these displays. These are not displays. I mean, I remember one year Rolex had two huge booths. They're three-story booths, and when I say three stories, you can actually go up 3 floors where there's offices upstairs and so on and so forth. Across from the one booth, there was another booth, which was a movie theater that sat, I think, like 50 people in there that continually showed movies about Rolex, about new models, and so on and so forth. In between those two, there was a marble bridge that was going over what looked like a body of water, but it wasn't a body of water. It was actually a digital screen that mimicked water. And the reason for that is because the year before, they actually put a real pool in between, and people kept stepping in the water. They said, you know what, we'll get rid of the water. We'll just imitate water by putting a bunch of LCD screens on there. And these are huge displays. I can't even begin to imagine how much it costs to put a booth like that together. And every single year, they have to come up with something new, something a little more innovative, a little more of a wow factor. So it's extremely, extremely expensive to do that. And effectively, what was the Basel show for? Besides letting in all the media and getting all the hype out about new models and about the brand itself and showing your face, it's also the place where every single AD would walk in and place their orders for the year, look at the new novelties, and literally buy. Because an authorized dealers would walk into a booth and they would come in, sit down, look at all the new models, say, oh, I'll take 5 of these, 3 of these. Oh, can I have this? No, I can't. Okay, let me have these, and so on and so forth. It's literally where authorized dealers shopped. And now with the companies, and I talked about this before, with the companies trying to sort of get away from that company distributor authorized dealer customer model, or a company authorized dealer and consumer model, and they're opening up their own boutiques all over the place, as well as they're starting to sell online on their own websites, it's cut out a lot of authorized dealers. So essentially what happens is that half of their clientele is no longer there because they either have cut them out or they've dropped their lines and so on and so forth. So the business for them is not there. So it becomes not as cost effective. And again, this is just my opinion. This is how I see things. For someone like myself, when I go to Basel, for me, it's just a show. For me, it's just a place to meet people, to hang out, to say hello to some dealers that I know, to say hello to some companies that I know, and nothing more. I can do buying in Basel as well, but I'm not going to talk about that. But it's just become a place for them to show out without the return that they expect. Because guess what? The popular brands, the dealers don't have a whole lot of control of what they're going to get. They get allocations, and they can decide that allocation without that guy having to fly to Switzerland, sit in their booth, and for them to spend millions of dollars on a few days that they're sitting there in Basel. So maybe that's why they left. At the end of the day, they can accomplish the same thing they accomplished in Basel by simply inviting all the media to the factory, which they do all the time, whether it's bloggers, whether it's press, whether it's TV, it doesn't really matter. They all regularly go to those places and get these factory tours, and they see all the new models. And as far as ordering is concerned, that's not rocket science either. They can easily either allocate the merchandise if this is a hot brand, or pick up the phone, guys, here's our new lineup, what do you want in your case? Should there be a fair where regular Joes are allowed to visit in a better manner than in Basel, for instance, where only ADs have a real chance to see anything? Yes, there should be, but there won't be. And the reason for that, think in terms of how huge the market base is for watches and how many clients, collectors, potential buyers are out there for every single brand that's out there. If any brand, whether it's Rolex or Zenith or Blancpain or anybody out there, had to have the capability to let in every single customer, to let them touch and feel the new models and look at all that stuff. You can imagine it's logistically impossible. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're in Basel, yes, you're not going to get into the big boys booth like Patek Philippe or Rolex and so on and so forth. But there are 4 floors in the main hall. There are 3 or 4 other halls in Basel you can walk around. If you go into the independent hall in Basel with guys like Vianney Holter, Thomas Prescher or Sven Anderson, those guys are very happy to talk to you about their watches. Whether you're a dealer, a private customer, or a vlogger, it makes no difference. They'll let you touch the watches, feel the watches, try them on. They're passionate about what they do, and they will share their passion with you, whether you're an authorized dealer, a private customer, or a vlogger. Another future question, which brands do you think have the best chances of being stronger in 5 years, for example? I don't have a glass ball. I don't know which brands are going to be stronger. I can tell you, in my opinion, that AP is going to stay strong based on what they're doing in terms of producing their goods, in terms of how they're controlling the market with what they're producing and the dealerships. I will tell you that Richard Mille is going to stay strong in the next 5 years, and I will tell you that Rolex is going to stay strong probably in the next 50 years. I don't see anybody, taking them off their throne anytime soon. But as I said before, everything kind of goes in waves. So if you look at all the major manufacturers out there, like IWC, Panerai, Jaeger-LeCoultre, Blancpain, Glashütte, Lange & Söhne, Patek Philippe, or whoever else I didn't mention, right? All these brands, they sort of do this all the time. So you're going to see those majors that have been around for hundreds of years not disappear off the face of the earth and creep their way to the top and maybe drop back down and so on and so forth. The only brand I can for certain say in the next 5 years is going to be at the top. I'm still going to go with Rolex, and I'm always going to put my money on Rolex so long as they continue doing what they're doing. Hope that answers your questions. Well, guys, that's it for me for today. Last but not least, I'm going to show you what's on my wrist. And today I'm wearing the PAM 615 submersible. This is a 1950 case, got a ceramic bezel, titanium case. This is a flyback chronograph. Typical Panerai, not a typical submersible like the original one, but nevertheless does have the submersible look and feel. What I love most about this watch is it's a big clunker. It's light, it's comfortable to wear, mainly due to the fact that it's made out of titanium and it's light in weight, as well as the rib design strap, which I'm showing you now. This sort of hugs your wrist really, really well. And for someone with a small wrist like me, it allows me to wear a clunkier watch while being comfortable. Guys, as usual, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as turn on the bell, the little bell, which is down here somewhere, which will notify you the next time a new video pops up. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next Tuesday.